This is Chubarka. He's 10 years old. He's completely blind in one eye. Can kind of see the tiniest bit in the other, but for the most part, he's just blind. And like I said, he's 10. I've had him for 10 years. And what I'm about to talk about is probably going to be the hardest video I have ever recorded. I talk a lot about being tilt-proof on this channel and how important it is to be able to be tilt-proof. Today I wanted to humanize that story, humanize that concept. So what does it mean to be tilt-proof? In order to be tilt-proof, come on, Chew. We have to be able to act in service of our values despite wanting to act in service of our emotions. We have to be able to choose in the moment while filled with intense emotion to act in service of our values, not our emotions. Now, I said I was going to humanize this, which means, unfortunately, it's time for an anecdote. It's time to talk a little bit about myself, significantly more than I would like to. So, 9 years ago, a 21, 22-year-old Ryan had this little guy as a puppy. He was my best friend back then, just like he's my best friend today. And I was just learning what it meant to be tilt-proof and trying to understand what are the consequences when you tilt. What are the unforeseen consequences, long-term consequences of satisfying one's emotions in the short term? While playing a game of the worst game ever, League of Legends, I named this guy Chubarka. This was not my brightest play. I was tilting. This one, bless his little heart, was barking his head off. Bark, 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 bark. And I'll tell you what, in those moments of deep focus, as you're fighting to maintain focus in order to not fail, it's really easy to blow up. And the moment I died, it was like all of his barking he had been doing came into the frame in that one moment. While it had been there, distracting me, making it more difficult to focus the entire last minute or two, it wasn't something that was perceived by me. I was shutting it out. I was tunnel visioned. I was tunneling in on what I was doing. And in that moment, I snapped. I screamed at him to stop barking. And in order to satisfy my emotions further, I picked the little guy up and I very stomp, went to the bathroom, put him in the bathroom, left the light off, and closed the door. And I went back to what I was doing. Now, I said early on in this video that not only is this guy my best friend today, he was my best friend back then too. And I don't think this is how you treat a best friend. This isn't how I value treating my best friend. And yet, in order to satiate my emotions, to satisfy my emotions in that moment, I did treat him like that. I did go put this little guy in a bathroom, lock him away, and leave him alone by himself. Yeah, I did do that. And now, I focused a lot on tunnel vision, and I need you all to understand this is deliberate. I'm not doing so in an attempt to take blame away from myself, because this video isn't just about what happens when you tilt. This video is to offer a solution. This video is wisdom from someone who has lived another 9 years from that experience, while being simultaneously coached by wiser people than I in how to act in service of my values, despite wanting to act in service of my emotions. So the reason I talked about tunnel vision and really focused early on in this video when I was describing what it was like to get angry at this guy and snap at him, and was talking about how I had essentially tuned out this information, is in order to act in service of our values, we need to actually expand. We need to, instead of getting into tunnel vision, we need to learn to be mindful and in the moment, in these moments of high stress and high anxiety. When shit hits the fan, we typically respond in one of two ways. We either essentially drop into flow and start managing the chaos, or we tunnel vision and have a complete panic attack. And I don't quite want to describe what I was having in that game as a panic attack. However, if you've ever had a panic attack, I'm sure you can see in your own life how that might have negatively affected your relationships with people in your life because of actions you ended up taking in these moments of high emotion. So in order to even start to act in service of one's values on a consistent basis, you need space to make that decision. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, it means mindfulness-based meditation. It means creating a regular practice, even if it's only 2 to 5 minutes a day, of mindfulness-based meditation. As mindfulness is the act of pausing. It is where you get that space and learn to just observe. It is from that observer's place that you can say, I want to put this dog in the bathroom, close the door, turn off the lights, and leave him by himself. And I'm going to tell him to be quiet. I might even turn off my game and take a breather and spend some time with him. Maybe do a treat session with him. Maybe take him outside for a bit. Because I value my dog. And that is something I can do now. That is an experience I have on a regular basis. When I game these days, it might be for a few hours before I look over at this little guy and decide to take him outside, go make him something to eat, just give him pets and attention, pick him up into my lap. The amount of times I will set my phone down just to spend time with this dog. When in the past, in those same moments, him trying to get my attention while I was trying to focus on what I was doing led to me snapping at him, being mad at him, angry at him. And now in these very same moments, the same moments that 9 years ago would have led to anger and frustration have led to bonding and love. And so I tell this story to humanize the reality of tilt. The reality of tilt is that when we tilt, we hurt the people in our lives we love the most. And we are living in an environment, a political environment, where the most powerful tool of the elite, the most powerful tool of those who seek to control you and seek to control me, is tilt. It is outrage. It is emotion. And so it is paramount that each and every one of us learns how to act in service of our values instead of in service of our emotions. It is paramount that we learn how to say and not but. We don't say, I want to treat my dog well, but I'm angry. We say, I am angry at my dog and I'm going to treat him well. And we need to learn how to do this because we are going to be highly emotional in these times. It is the very tool that those who seek to control you are using in full force in social media, as we've experienced, has made this tool of outrage, more powerful than ever. And I think I've demonstrated, and you might hear my story and say, this isn't me. I urge you to really reflect on your own lives and ask yourself the question, when has being tilted caused me to hurt somebody I love? And if you can answer even one time, then that's all the proof you need to start working on the ability to act in service of your values, not in service of your emotions. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Godspeed, soldiers.